Let's now look at meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues are made up of meristematic cells. I've already told you at the beginning of this chapter the definition of tissues. So let me not go back to that again. Alright. So meristematic tissues are made up of meristematic cells. Where do you think these cells are present? We are talking about plant tissues. Remember, this is the first tissue in the plant category that we are discussing. So, of course, these are present within the plant tissues. But where within the plant tissues is my question. Do you know where they are present? Alright, let me tell you, you need not worry about it. The meristematic tissues are present in three different places within a plant body. The meristematic tissues are present only in the plants, alright? They are not found in animals, and also within the plants they are found in only three specific regions, okay? Accordingly, they are categorized into three types. Let me first tell you what the three types of meristematic tissues are. First and foremost, apical meristems, then lateral meristems. They are also called as cambium and intercalary meristems. So, meristematic tissues are found only within plants. These meristematic tissues are made up of meristematic cells. What are the characteristic features of these meristematic cells? How can I distinguish the meristematic cells from the other cells within the plant? For that, here you go. The meristematic cells have prominent nuclei. They have a dense cytoplasm. Their cell walls are thin. So, thin cell walls. Of course, these cell walls, like the other plants' cell walls, are also made up of cellulose. And the most striking feature here is the absence of vacuole within the meristematic cells. That means meristematic cells lack vacuoles. I'll tell you why, but quickly let me go back to where I started it off all. We are discussing about meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues are made up of meristematic cells. These meristematic cells are having specific characteristic features, that is, these cells have prominent nuclei, their cytoplasm is dense, their cell walls are thin and they are made up of cellulose, but these meristematic cells don't have vacuoles. If you think back on what the role of vacuoles is, we have already discussed about vacuoles in our previous chapter, haven't we? So, the role of vacuole is to provide rigidity and turgidity to the plant cell, isn't it? But these cells don't require that. But if they don't require rigidity and turgidity, then what is the job of the meristematic cells? The meristematic cells actively divide. So they keep on dividing to produce new cells. I hope I'm clear. Meristematic cells keep dividing actively to produce new cells. That's the reason they don't want their cells to be rigid and turgid, and also the vacuoles actually act as storage organs, isn't it? But these meristematic cells don't need any of that. That's the reason the meristematic cells lack vacuoles. Alright? Having said the characteristic features of meristematic cells, let's see where meristematic tissues are present. Based on their position, the meristematic tissues are categorized into three types. They are apical meristems, lateral meristems, which are also called as cambium, and intercalary meristem. Let us look at them in detail one by one. Apical meristems. Like the name itself suggests, this is a meristematic tissue that is present at the apex of the plant body, that is at the tip of the plant body. So, we all know that the root and the shoot are the growing tips of a plant, isn't it? So, generally, the tip of the root and the tip of the shoot have apical meristematic tissues. So, based on where these meristematic tissues are located, they are categorized into three types: apical, lateral, and intercalary. If the meristematic tissues are present at the tip of the shoot and the root, then they are called as apical meristem. So this helps the plants to grow up towards the sunlight and also helps the root to grow deeper. Alright. Then moving on to the second type of meristems, that is the lateral meristem. As the name itself suggests, these meristematic tissues are present on the lateral side. That means are present on the sides of the plant. If this is a plant, then there are meristems all around the lateral sides. Okay. So this will help the plant to grow in girth, right? It will help the plant to grow in its diameter. So, these lateral meristems are present along the lateral sides of the plant and help increase the girth of the plant. Or simply put, it helps the plant to increase its diameter. Okay. So, this is about lateral meristem. Moving on to the third and the final bit of meristematic tissue, that is intercalary meristem. But before going into that, I want to ask you if you know what a node is. Have you heard of the terminology node? Okay. So, for those who don't know, if you consider this as a plant and at regular intervals you have the leaves, okay, or if you consider another example, at every point you have the branches growing, right? So these points on the stem where either the leaf or the branches grow, these are called as the nodes. Okay, nodes. These intercalary meristematic tissue are present along the nodes. For what purpose? To help elongate the branch or to help elongate the leaf stalk. Okay. So where are these intercalary meristems present? Along or at the base of nodes. NODES, nodes. You know what nodes are? These are the points from where the new leaves or the new branches grow. So, if the intercalary meristems are present here, then they help in the elongation of the either the leaf stalk if the leaf is growing or the new branch or new branch. I hope this much is clear. Let me quickly revise. We are talking about meristematic tissues today. Meristematic tissues are a group of cells which actively divide to produce new cells. Out of these new cells that are formed because of active division of meristematic cells, some of these cells retain their active dividing capability and they continue to divide and produce new cells. Whereas the others would assume a different role later in their life, they start differentiating themselves into some other tissues. It is from these that the permanent tissues are formed. Okay? So, permanent tissues have originated from a group of meristematic tissues itself, which have differentiated themselves and change their characteristics so that they assume a different role later on in their life. Okay, so that is what is differentiation. That is where from the permanent tissues have originated. Okay, so meristematic tissues are composed of meristematic cells. Based on the position of the meristematic tissues, they are categorized into apical, lateral, and intercalary. Meristematic cells have prominent nuclei, they have dense cytoplasm, they have thick cell wall, followed by an important point, that is, they lack vacuole. It is because these meristematic cells actively divide and they don't have to store anything. They don't need the turgidity or rigidity. Alright. So these are the important characteristic features of meristematic cells. They actively divide to produce a mass of cells. Out of these, some of them retain their dividing capability while the rest of them start differentiating to produce permanent tissues. That means a group of the newly formed cells will start changing their structure so that they start becoming permanent tissues and they will have a specific role to play. Okay, they will no longer keep dividing. Whereas the other mass of tissues which have originated from the meristematic tissues will continue growing and retain their actively dividing capabilities. Okay, so what are coming back to the types of meristematic tissues? Apical meristems are present at the tip of the plant body. They help the root and the shoot to grow. The lateral meristems are also called as cambium. They are present on the lateral sides, that means on the sides of the plant, and help increase the girth, okay, of the plant. The intercalary meristems are present along the nodes and help in either elongation of the leaf stalk or elongation of a new branch. With this, we conclude meristematic tissues. In our next video, we will have a look at permanent tissues in plants. Thank you.